Hello. Hello, hello. That was, yeah, be quick. Napped it off, beat the players to the game. All right, so we got the People's Champ, winner of the Cash Game World Championship, Prodigy, taking on the Flush Man, who has been pretty undefeated of late and just in general, career-wise. Little heads up, no ante this time. So last time we saw the tables running with Flushie and Linus, Flushie and Kyan and no, it was just Flushie versus Kyan and Linus, right? That was at 40k, and they had a $200 per player ante. This is the default, the classic game, no ante heads up. But we will see a bit more folding and probably zero limping. They didn't really do much limping in the, at least almost none that I saw in the ante version. I guess players just can't be fucked with it. Like, it's probably a mutual agreement to not bother with that shit. Yeah, the Prod versus the Flushie. And Prodigy coming off a little 10 to 15 buy-in loss against Jasam Gale recently in heads up. I'm not sure if that was 20k or 10k. I think it was 20k. So Jasam finally not running like shit. Getting some of the dollars he lost in the championship back. $2.5x open and 11 BB3 bet. The only thing I can really comment on. At this point, we do have a show table, by the way, on the left. So we will be seeing hole cards getting shown every single time someone wins the pot on that left table. On the right table, it's just a single raise pot and it's been checked back. The left table, I assume we'll see a lot of c-betting. It is heads up, so there's a chance like you don't see a full range c-bet on these paired boards, which often in other game formats you will see. And we do see it starting off with a check. I wonder what the c-bet frequency is on this board in heads up. Probably still like 70 something or 80, and I guess it depends what sizing. I imagine Owen goes smaller. He tends to go small in a lot of different spots. I think Owen, it's quite a smart strategy. Try to make your opponents continue hands they're not sure if they need to continue or not. And then force them into actions with those hands on the turn, you know, through a series of different sizings and checks and this other kind of stuff. Owen going to 2.6x. I'm not sure if that's because, oh no, they're not slightly deep, it's just Flushie that's slightly deep. So Owen 2.6xing and Flushie 2.5xing. The annoyer, you know, mixing in the slightly different sizing. Uses quarter pot on a Jack 10-6 rainbow. Also interesting, you do see some people sizing big on these boards. But with these guys, I mean, these guys are top players. A lot of players only use one sizing on a flop. These guys might use more than one, depending on the board. Especially Owen, who's he's quite fancy, you know? He's a fancy man. Finds the rare check fold in that 3-bet pot. It's shown Flushie's flush draw with backdoor straight draw. Kind of an interesting one. Overbet stab with a gut shot after Flushie checks back. Takes down the pot. I wonder what the little backstory is here. I think Prody's just in the mood to play heads up, and Flushie is in the mood to play no matter what the game is at all times, it looks like. Flushie been on a little tour playing heads up PLO, a game format he's never really played, just against random top players, so it's quite cool. I think Flushie is really like, he is the ideal poker player. Because he just plays, doesn't really care, you know? Makes himself better by challenging himself constantly. And has had a successful career as a result of challenging himself, I think. I mean, the dude has literally played 180,000 hands of heads up no limit against Berry Sweet. 80,000 hands of heads up no limit against Linus. Something similar against Make Boy Finn. So quite sick, honestly, just quite sick. I think that's just a great example of showing how challenging yourself and playing regs, like, or playing like reg battles even in 6 max and stuff, is just good for developing your game. I think too many people get caught up in this bum hunt mindset, you know? But realistically, they're just scared to play and lose against regs. But that's one of the best ways you can improve your game. And lots of the dudes at the top have had that path on their way coming up. And as a result, it's made them better players. Yeah, Bigfoot Bert says would like to see some videos of these guys reviewing some hands. So yeah, I actually asked Flushie and Proddy if they would mind maybe we make a video similar to one of those other ones. Get a couple different perspectives. It would be funny to look at the same hands with both players. I'm not sure though if that's as good content though, right? Because then you're watching the same hand twice in a row. Obviously, it's interesting to see how they think differently about a spot, but it might be better just to get them to do different hands each. This is the most expensive heads-up course out there. Yeah, but like once you play for a lot of money, it's very hard to say, oh, well, let's play way lower. You know? At the end of the day, poker is gambling. And it feels nice to gamble and win, but it doesn't feel nice to gamble and win $5, you know? Body here setting one up, they're deep. 125% of the pot remaining behind. Backdoor flush completes. Open-ended straight draw completes. Proddy definitely having some good hands in his range. Does shove it in. How thin will he go for value? Hard to say. We will see his cards though. He has bottom too, so we get a bit of information about how thin he's willing to go there. Expecting to get called by like 9-8, 9-7, I guess. Let's have a little peek to review that hand. Oops. There's 3 barrels of value, right? Oh no, he calls a 3-bet from the flush man. He flops bottom 2. He's going to stab only quarter pot on flop, half pot on turn, and then sends it in on river. So quite often he's actually going to be up against an ace-high flush, like an ace-high that check calls flop. Or I guess quite often is a poor way to put it, but it's something he has to consider. It's not that likely that Flushie has like an overpair. I mean, sure, he could probably trap aces a bit, I guess. Pocket nines. I mean, you lose to that, yeah. You know, it's kind of a weird spot for the Proddy. I guess he hopes that his opponent has like pocket sevens, pocket eights. Top pair check call. It doesn't really feel like something that happens. So Proddy's kind of trying to get called by weird hands here, like pocket fives or a 6. Or even ace king, ace queen. It's kind of crazed, but possible. Interesting. I mean, from my perspective, that's an interesting showdown to see. Dayan says, if I knew they were going to play, I would have tried to get some money on Flushie. Oh, mate. Unlucky. Unlucky, man. Do you want to come in and do some proper commentary for me, Decky? It's always nice to have someone who actually knows what they're talking about. Anyway, just DM me if you do. Yeah. Roddy was the business on the other table. Wins quite a small pot. Might have been check back by Flushie. Now he does c-bet the flop, check back the turn and pays off a larger river bet. Interesting sizing choice here. I guess he's got several sizes and just rolled to use this one maybe. That's just a guess by me. But it does make some level of sense because with the ace in his hand, it's less likely his opponent can call a large bet. It's an interesting way to have a very strong hand with a smaller sizing. He says he's 3-tabling heads up low on the side. Bit slow. Why, man? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that, bro? I think this dynamic of Brody opening to 2.6 instead of 2.5 and Flushie possibly just ignoring the sizing difference is slightly interesting. Like, I don't really know how much differently you're supposed to play against such a small difference in raise sizing. Like, what do you guys think it affects your preflop defend percent, like for calls? Do you think it makes much difference? Like, does it even make you fold 2% more? I don't know. But it does result in Flushie giving a microscopic discount to calling his 3-bets in position. Flushie tanking. I mean, like you said, he is playing extra tables somewhere else, not on coin, of heads up PLO. I wonder if he's playing against Veni Video or not. I know they played recently. Seems quite crazed though to play 5 tables of heads up with different game formats. But that tank was real. He was 4-betting. This is also quite interesting. A check back on an ace queen 7 as the 4-better. There's something you don't really see so much checking back this kind of a board, at least to my best knowledge. Brody's going to respect it though. He's going to find another check on the turn. Perhaps thinking Flushie trapping more. I mean, it doesn't really matter if he checks back again. The SPR is so low, they can play 1-street poker for the stack. Brody with 2 checks here though. Does feel like a hand that's not really trying to win the pot. Just surrendering to pocket jacks or pocket 10s of Flushie, potentially. What does he want to do? Does he want to block better queen? He does size in a way that potentially he's doing that. He's very unlikely to have top pair, right, for this type of a sizing. Which is awkward because then it's like he either has a queen, a strong value hand, or a bluff. It's very easy to overbluff for that. But he does just have the queen, and Flushie with JJ gets kind of shipwrecked. Bit of a tilter for the flush man. Yeah, these spots are always pretty interesting when somebody actually ends up repping a very narrow range despite sizing in a way that's quite small relative to the pot. So yeah. These are the scenarios when you play lower stakes where you think, oh, they just never bluff, you know, when they do this. But we know one thing about Proddy, it's that however he does it and wherever he does it, he certainly finds a lot of bluffs. So you don't want to go around folding bluff catches to this guy getting 5-1 or whatever. Interesting looking sizing from Flushie and some sort of a checked back single raise pot on the right table. Check back and overbet river. He gets check ripped on for his troubles here with capped range. We will not see the showdown from the prod man. Check ripping as an overbet versus a river delayed overbet. Quite sick. 4 flush completing on the left table on a paired board. Tricky scenario. Flushie going to check. Repping showdown value here is the Flushie. Will Proddy have something that he turns into a bluff, or will he have a value hand? Let's find out. It does feel like he's going to bet the river. Going to use a bit of time bank here on the 4 flush board paired spot. Makes sense. He slams it in for slightly less than 2x. Flushie likely with no heart, single pair bluff catcher. Tough decision. Will he make an info call early on into this match, or will he let it go and see the whole cards? That's the one interesting dynamic about the show table. Is the info call in heads up is less necessary. He calls it anyway and sees quads. Oh, Flushie has a monster though. He's got top pair and a heart. Probably pretty hard to want to fold that. Let's just recheck this exact line. So he 3-bets pre-flop, c-bets the flop, barrels the turn, and checks the river. Proddy just with the absolute business. Gets the job done. Makes Decky feel good about not getting the side action going. Okay. 3-bet and c-bet on the Jack-Jack-7 queen turn. Would probably stab it. In any event, he's going to size in a way where there'll be like a pot-sized river shove behind if Flushie check calls. Does check call. River pairs the 7. Some of these like merge hands from Proddy that are like an underpair get counterfeit here. A bunch of the other potential draws are playing the board. So it's interesting how Proddy wants to play this spot. Would he shove a queen for value here, knowing how many complete airballs he can have as well? Complicated. He's going to check back and see the absolute nuts. He has king 9 high, so he decides to check back with a hand that slightly beats the board instead of also bluffing with that when he has many other bluffs to choose from. Seems like a reasonable choice. And obviously he'll be happy seeing Jack 7. Let's just see, was this a 3-bet and a C-bet, or did Flushie open trap this flop? No, he does C-bet, and then, yeah, Proddy's going to stab it up with the club and a king and a 9. 9 of clubs. It doesn't feel like there's that much folding pre-flop, even though there's quite a lot more than what happens in the ante version that we were spectating earlier. Like 1 BB of total antes heads up. It's quite an additional incentive not to fold. But I mean, heads up's still a game where you're basically playing every hand. Who is Asian Flushie? I mean, it's a good question, man. Good question. I don't know how much these players like to talk about what their real names are and what they do with their lives, but Asian Flushie is an old school high stakes reg, and he plays in Macau. I think he's happy if people know that about him. Three bet pot 753. What sizing will Owen go for? He's going to go for a 1.5x. He wants to play 2 street poker here on this connected board. Nice flop for him. Backdoor flush and an open and straight draw. 2 street poker requested. Audio is too low. Okay, thanks, mate. Have a look. Yes. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know why my mic settings get fucked constantly. Like whenever I start Windows, my mic's on a different volume. Maybe I'll try and figure that out. Put that on my little to-do list. Half pot, 6-4 deuce in single raise pot as the c-bet. Pair and a gutter. Pretty good. Probably enjoys betting. I would assume his c-bet statistic is reasonably high. How long have they been playing? We've been streaming the entire time they've been playing, so not too many hands. That one big hand where Proddy had quads against Flushie's 10 of hearts and top pair on the 4 flush paired board was the largest pot that's happened so far between these two. Owen, the man of many block bets, not block betting here on this run out. Shows down a queen and a jack, and it's good. Queen jack offsuit, I guess, is mixed between 3-betting and flatting. And heads up, no limit. Maybe it doesn't 3-bet too often, but I imagine that it has to 3-bet sometimes. Are they top 5 or top 10 in heads up, these two players? Someone asked in the chat. I assume so. I assume so. Roddy was describing himself the other day as a heads up player that played the 6 max event. So I think Proddy, decent amount of heads up played in his career. I don't know his whole story, but yeah, I would assume he's one of the top guys. Flushie, I mean, Flushie could be the top guy, honestly. He's probably played more hands of heads up than anyone else, based on what he said, or maybe around the same amount as Berry Sweet. What's going on in this pot? 3-bet and checked multiple streets by both. Okay. Probably all 3 streets check as PFR. Repping like 6s or something, maybe. Does Flushie want to put that hand to the test? Flushie capable of some spice. Will he value bet a 10? No. Probably somehow has top pair. This looks like a very strange hand. Unless it wasn't a 3-bet pot, but I think it was. So probably gonna go check with ace 5 of spades here. Flushie checks. Probably turns an ace on 2-tone. Finds a second check. Flushie same deal. River's a 10 and probably finds a third check. Flushie 3/4 pot. Is the absolute nuts. Interesting. Probably losing the absolute minimum there. I mean, I guess he could have bet the flop and Flushie folds or whatever. Yeah, I think what we'll try and do at the end of this match, because it's not going to be that easy to get stream coverage, you know, for whenever they play. I'll request this dude Johan from the Cash Game World Championship. I'll request though that if he's available, he does cover the match with some streams. But I think what's going to be better is if we actually just find all the most interesting hands and we get Flushie and Proddy to come and give some commentary on them. Let us know what they were thinking, etc. Sharky says that ace 5 was quite a sick flop check. Yes, interesting, right? Just trying to have a bit of everything in all the ranges. I mean, ace high obviously has showdown value, potential to make extremely strong hands. So you could do some tricky shit with the ace high. He could check call it, obviously, but he also might check raise it. Hard to say how he was intending on playing that hand. An overcard to all top pairs in Flushie's range, since ace king would 4-bet. Prodigy seems like the kind of player where if you don't know him super well to actually understand how he does really think about the game, you're going to be very challenged. I guess that's probably the best term for how to figure him out. Because he seems to do a little bit of everything, right? But realistically, he's quite aware of what he's doing, and he has intentions with what he's doing. So I think like Prodigy playing against someone like Llama who knows how he thinks pretty well could actually be a super tough match for Prodigy. But Prodigy against other people who might be quite good regs, I think they're going to struggle a lot more because he's put a lot of thought into how he plays, and he does seem to take lots of different lines, lots of different sizings, making it tough for his opponent. That's a cold one. Like middle two versus slightly worse middle two. I imagine, yeah, so that was a single raise pot where Prodigy was the preflop raiser. What's the challenge criteria? There's no challenge. I just think these guys wanted to play, and they're happy to make some content for the fans. So they've got their own customized table that includes show cards, and yeah, I mean it's kind of a good deal for everybody. I think they get to play with no rake, and we get some cool content. I think this is just an excellent offering from them to the fans. The hand analysis stuff that was given to the Coin Poker media team, and they put it into videos. A couple of them I uploaded myself, and then they were just unedited, which I personally prefer, but not everybody prefers. So yeah, the Coin Poker media department edited some of those videos to become shorter, or I'm not sure exactly everything they did with the editing, but some form of editing to it. 24% pot for Flushie. Everybody likes to have their own little spice on the default. Am I still playing PLO? Honestly, I've been so busy I haven't played a hand in I don't even know how long. But this month I'm going to go and play some live PLO game in Dubai because I told a guy that I would come over. And also I'm considering moving to Dubai, so I wanted to check out, some of the potential nicer areas and that kind of stuff. See if I can imagine actually living there or not. So I might go and dry, play some live. Hunt off a bunch of money. Probably deep in the tank here. Imagine it's a call or a ram. And he's taken too long to be shoving, in my opinion. He's just, yeah, okay, he does call. Sees the value. We will not know what he had there. Is there action / casinos in Dubai? I think that there's a plan for them to make casinos where foreigners can gamble, but I don't think locals would be allowed to play or something along those lines. No, but there's a bunch of random private games in Dubai. Some of them are apparently pretty dodgy. I don't know. Look, I honestly don't really care that much about playing poker. At the moment, I'm happy with just being busy doing some stuff like what I'm doing right now, and also like we have a newborn baby, so spending time with the baby is interesting. So yeah, I'm not too fussed about the playing of the poker. Always an interesting board on the right-hand table. We're seeing a second half pot bet from Flushie here. Setting up for a river pot-sized jam. Probably will muck the turn and we will never see the whole cards. 3-bet and 666 on the flop. You in Vienna now, pretty big change. With Dubai, yeah. I mean, I'm slightly outside the city. Yeah, Dubai's obviously pretty different. It's all whatever though. It's all whatever. I mean, they're not that far apart at least. Could go to Dubai when it's cold in Vienna, you know? Do one of those strats? I'm not sure. I don't know if I would like the Dubai thing or not. Like, I went there only once, and it was okay. My girl just wanted to see it basically and dick around a bit, so we did that. But I didn't really go to any of the residential type of areas. I didn't like the main areas and stuff. That sucks. I would hate to live there, but maybe there's a chance. The more residential spots aren't bad. I do know a few people that live there. And they have some pretty nice looking paddle courts, you know, could play some paddle. Not too bad. Wonder if Flushie's still playing the heads up PLO. I'm curious who that's against. I'll have to ask him. Okay. Kind of interesting hand looking here. So probably checks back. Check, check. Ah, he's going to call a river bet here with Jack 10 high. That's it's a pretty interesting call, right? He's saying to himself, okay, the Flushie for this river sizing, this 75% river sizing, he's not value betting a 4, a 5, like a pocket pair that's slightly higher than those pairs. He might even be thinking that Flushie is not value betting an ace for this size. And if that's the case, then Flushie becomes quite polar, and he says, well, Jack 10 beats the bluffs. I call. I also block flushes min, which might be relevant. I'm not really sure. 10-5 of hearts. Is this an arranged challenge or they're just playing one session? I don't imagine that they're playing only one session. I imagine that they're going to play a bit you know, for a period of time. But, you know, that's a good question, man. Maybe I'll just go ahead and ask. I will go ahead and ask for you, okay? All right. Couple of questions asked. What is Dubai Big? Change some news? No, nothing really, man. Nothing really. Just considering mixing it in. But like I said, I'm gonna go there first and have a look. I mean, I've seen some of the property that people rent. It's ridiculously expensive, like unacceptably expensive. So if that's all that they're really offering in any of the reasonable areas, then I'm just out. But yeah, if there's something reasonable and we like the area, yeah, maybe give it a go. Could just try going there for like a year, see what's up. Or we could just go on this trip and say, you know what, fuck this place. So what's going on here? Is this 3-bet pot, quarter pot stab, half pot barrel? King queen with 1 diamond. Let's have a look here. Did Flushie check call quarter on flop as the 3-better? He did 3-bet. He did check and face a quarter pot stab. Prodigy starting off the bluff early with the king queen. Some of these spots, it doesn't really feel like there's anything to say, you know? You sending distractions. What does that mean? Does that mean that Flushie's texting him random stuff while they're playing? Ah, he says, are you sending in distractions? Rigged is sitting me now. So I guess rigged is sitting in on maybe a different network. Probably with 3 quarters after Flushie finds a turn check back. How thin would he go for value with that sizing in that spot? Would he value bet a 7? But yeah, if I just say like, you know, for commentary purposes, oh, a 3-bet, you know, just every single time there's any action. I don't know. You guys want me to do that? Kind of can't be fucked, you know? Queen 8 of diamonds. Takes down the pot. Uh-huh. 4-bet pot. Tell you what you don't generally see in Hold'em is a fold to a 4-bet. Oh, nice one. So probably just said that he can come and entertain the masses after they finish playing, which will be in approximately 1 more hour. The plan is to play until what time would that be? Midday Central European time. Oh, the flush man takes it down with Queen Jack double suited. There, no diamond post. Puts the hurt on. Collects the gold. When I see Queen Jack off in a 4-bet pot, I think of Michael Jang. I can't remember what it was, but he toasted one off with Queen Jack offsuit in some spot in like a live MTT. Oh, it's good to toast one off sometimes. Good for the rep. Here we see a turn raise from the prod. So this is SRP flop C bet, I guess. Or possibly flop small check raise. I think it was flop C bet and then Flushie turn donk, proddy raise. And now somehow the 7 pairs on river. What will Flushie do? Can Flushie cook up anything interesting here? He does find the overbet donk jam, and we will not see the showdown. So pretty interesting looking pot there. Let's see what actually happened on the flop instead of just guessing. Yeah, we do see a full pot-sized c-bet, which Flushie check calls, and then leads on turn. So quite interesting, right? Proddy bumps him, says, fuck you. Flushie says, I have a hand, I call. The river pairs the 7, and Flushie says, you don't ever have that, and I might. All in. And probably snap folds, probably a bluff. Either that or he snap folds a hand that had decent showdown value just to disguise it. Because again, that is the non-show table. So they will not be seeing information from each other. But probably just had a bluff. He's not the kind of guy who would just give up a pot where he has some chance of convincing himself to find a profitable call with a bluff catcher. So he probably just had some single diamond hand, like Queen 10 with 1 diamond or some shit. He just knows that he can't possibly call the jam. Maybe should we take some notes about hands to ask him about? Yeah, I'll take little hand notes, okay? And then if you guys want a question for Proddy at the end too, I can also note that down if it's an interesting sounding question. So yeah, feel free to get in there and let me know. Looks like I've missed a 3-bet and a half pot c-bet or stab. Proddy going to stab only halfy here, leaving slightly deep SPR for river. These are always interesting thoughts, right? Would you rather bet 4K here, making the pot 16 and the stacks 20, or would you rather bet like 5 and making it about a pot size bet behind? It doesn't really matter too much, but I'm sure there's some level of thought going into it from Proddy. I don't imagine he has a sizing that's pot but not all in here, you know? In fact, he probably mainly only shoves, but he might cook up a weird smaller sizing too. I guess not, based on the fact that he checks back that Jack 10 pretty quickly. That might be an indicator that he's only betting all in or checking. So he bets the turn with top pair, no heart, to try and charge some hands like the one flush he had. Successfully charges and doesn't lose the pot. I could ask him about that hand too, but the problem is I don't think he'll necessarily want to reveal what his strategy is on the river, you know? And I think that's totally fair. Another 3-bet pot. What sizing will Flushie go for on this board if he does c-bet? Okay, he's actually going to quarter that. Tricky. This dynamic always interested me. Like playing two 3-bet pots or two 4-bet pots at the same time when you're multi-tabling the same guy heads up. You know, or like betting twice on the river, and one you have a bluff and one you have value, or both you have a bluff or whatever. These kind of dynamics. This used to be what the strategy of the game was more about, because there was no solvers. It was a lot of leveling. It's like, would he really have value here and then do the same thing as he did when he bluffed there? And, you know, these kind of thoughts. The leveling wars. It's a good time. The leveling wars, fun times. So we see a Spicer, we see a pretty large flop raise and the king turn. Quite a bad card for Flushie, I imagine, because probably some of its bluffs are going to be at least one overcard. Maybe I'm just guessing wrong here. Like King Queen feels like a natural bluff to me. It's not that hard for him to either have a very strong hand like two pair or a set, or turn a king here, and they're equally as powerful against a hand like eights, nines, or tens that Flushie can have a shitload of. Weak top pair, well, not weak, but you know, top pair with no relevant side card now. So it probably is going to go for some sort of half pot the turn and half pot jam the river. He shows pocket fours, so quite an interesting hand to be bluffing with, considering how many different straight draws are available on this board. So it's like a semi-value and protection flop raise. But after that particular turn drops, he decides it's bluff time. But just think about all the potential different straight draws that he could possibly have here. It's quite interesting to have this fours as an additional potential bluff. Not that he plays, like a lot of the straight draws might just be calling, like raising them might be a huge mistake, and then therefore this makes more sense. Like I don't know how the spot works in heads up, but it's interesting to see that this is actually what he shows up with for a bluff instead of something that might look more obvious, quote unquote, to me or you. I mean, we could ask him about specific hands like this. But I could also just not do that and save that for like a video, you know, where we look at some of the more interesting hands and go into a bit of detail. Like if we spoil that now by asking him today about these hands, you know, it might ruin the quality of the future content. That is a consideration to not do it. Flushy looks like a third barrel in a single raise pot if something happens here, and he's going to go for the whole hog on the rivered Kong. He's going to say, I force you to call me with more hands than just a deuce. Will you be brave enough? And then, as a level, he could also just have like top pair. So interesting spot. Probably going to burn a bit of bank here, facing a 3x river jam. But regardless of what he does, we will see Mr. Flushie's cards. He folds and is shown value. So he will be happy with that. Let's just double check what the action was. Was it a 3-barrel in an SRP? SRP. 1-bet. Ooh, a turnover bet on paired. Interesting. And then River Kong, he rams it in. Very aggressive. Complicated spot. Like, I could ask him after when he joins, hey, so on that board, like, what kind of random pairs do you think you would have to call down with? Are you scared of him having a king? You know? Do you want me to do that, or do you think I should save that for a more polished version of that content? What's the feeling in the audience? Okay. Thanks, guys. Good feedback. What's cooking on this right table? I was a bit distracted here. It could be like a super check down 3-bet pot. And then he value bets like ace jack high and shit here. I don't think that's what it was, based on what they have. Let's have a little look. SRP. What? Ah, so it goes check, check, flop. And probably just overbet stabs 150. Flushie calls. And probably is going to block river. Praying that Flushie has like queen jack, jack 10, queen 10. Or a different draw with similar showdown value. So Proddy ends up potentially overbluffing. You can never tell because you don't see their full range construction whenever you see one showdown. But Flushie decides that there's no value in raising with a Kong. Either that or he wants the info as to what bluffs Owen might have when he does bluff here. So very interesting non-raise on river. But it might just directly relate to this. Look, if you view this bet alone, this bet is polar. This bet is not like a 9, right? For value. And therefore, Flushie might just say, okay, look, there's no value in raising here. So I'm going to just call with my king. That's probably what happened. My initial thought was a little bit too spazzy. Do we know what's on Prodigy's profile picture? I mean, it's a film, right? I can't recall the film. I've definitely seen the film. This guy's... I can't remember which type of British national he is. Is he just British or is he Scottish or something? Maybe he's Irish. This character. It's a good movie, whatever that movie is. I just can't remember it offhand. I'm sure someone in the chat knows. They're like chasing up some sort of a loan or whatever. Like they're loan sharking. They're trying to get some money back or stolen drugs or in Brooks. Yeah, righto. And he's Irish. Thanks, man. What do you guys think the best hand in heads up is that doesn't 3-bet? Like, what's the best hand you can flat? Can you flat pocket eights? Any percent? Can you flat ace jack offsuit? Any percent? King queen offsuit pure 3-betting? I mean, I'm sure somebody knows the answer, but what do you guys think? King jack, what? So king queen pure 3-bet? Three-quarters pot announced on river. Value displayed. Yeah, people talking about sims being different, rake structures being different. I mean, it's whatever, you know. I just wanted a general answer on, do you pure 3-bet ace jack off, for example? Ace 10, I imagine, is a mix, even if it's mainly 3-betting. But do you pure 3-bet ace jack or not? Do you pure 3-bet king queen offsuit or not? And what's the highest pocket pair that's still flat some percentage? I'd be curious. Like, can you flat a percent of eights? Can you even possibly flat a percentage of nines? I don't know. But it would be a good little piece of information to know exactly what people are repping post flop when it comes to like a king high board check raise or, you know, this kind of stuff. Yeah, 7-7, I imagine, definitely flat sometimes. You think 7-7 is a pure 3-bet, Marco, in the chat? Pure 3-bet 7-7. Okay, cool. What about ace jack offsuit? Okay, your Sims have mid-stakes rake though, which is extremely different, I guess. Like, what's your defend percent out of BB? Like flat call and 3-bet with a mid-stakes rake structure? Because you might even have something like 10% more hands played in this rake environment where there's no rake. Once you defend a higher percent, some of your 3-bets become mixed, to give you more board coverage and strength on different boards in single raised as well. So yeah, it could affect things a lot. What's going on, mate? SBDJ? 25% 3-bet, 44% call. Yeah, I imagine that the 25% 3-bet drops down as the rake disappears. That's just a guess. I'm assuming 25 is high, bro. That's higher than I thought it would be. What what did you guys think of this Nacho Barbero ACR thing? Like, there's two topics, right? One topic is what was actually happening, and then the other topic is what does the image that he posted represent? They're kind of two different topics. And his first name is not Ignacio. Yeah, that's kind of strange, right? Where does the Nacho thing come from? What is your best non 3-bet VPIP hand that you play in this environment at a frequency? Your best non 3-bet at a frequency, though? I don't get the at a frequency thing. That makes me think, are we talking about a borderline folded hand? Because you're saying non 3-bet. What happened? You'd have to log on to Twitter for the best summary of that. I mean, I can just tell you, but it's funnier when you see the posts. There's a few other posts that are kind of funny as well. Probably wins a big one off AA here. Let's just quickly recap this pot. The SRP probably flops the trips. He goes for check call flop. Flushie finds check back AA. Oh, and probably hits him with a river check Rizzy. Full pot. Nah. Pump it up. Pay it off. Got the value, mate. AA. Bit rigged. Ah, right. You were rephrasing it. Yeah. I wasn't sure what you were saying there, mate. All good. Um, yeah, so the nacho thing, maybe we can pull it up on the screen for a second, actually. Give me a browser tab. I can maybe say my own 2 cents on the topic. What should I search? ACR poker, I guess that's probably the thing to search. Let's have a little peek over there. Maybe we won't cover the show table because the show table is too cool. Let's go over here. Right. Yeah, they really left this post up. I mean, this is okay. We'll get to that post after then. Okay, so wait, their account's actually not that useful. What are we trying to look at here then? Okay, let me just see if I can find it in another tab. Okay, poker news. Okay, there we go. PokerStar, Nacho Barbera, and the unregulated poker site represents ACR Poker under fire over response to RTA/cheating allegations. Details below. Okay, so it's an article. But yeah, he posted this image, and it was like, let's go, let's play the Venom something something, you know, just advertising a tournament. And if you can see in the background here, there's, I believe it's technically GTO Wizard, but it's some sort of, you highlight. You highlight over the image and it pops up ACR poker cheating, which is just funny. That's a poker news thing. But yeah, there's in the background, it's like some sort of a pre-flop sim, right? Maybe it's not pre, right? Because it's got this like all-in 13. It's some sort of short stacked pre-flop sim, right? Surely, because it's like full frequencies of stuff and it's looking like very linear. So yeah, some sort of pre-flop short stack sim, and he's playing some tables. So it's not a good look. The thing is, if you know the guy, right? So you can skip ahead and have an opinion on this topic. You can say, well, I know this guy. There's no fucking way he cheats. He's a massive whale. Yes, you're correct. He's a massive whale. He certainly hasn't built his quote unquote career around using RTA. That's not even slightly in contention. So the only thing is, like, the thing is, it's just like, you just need to be hard on this, because if people see somebody posting something like this and it's not just like instant firing or whatever, then they're like, well, you know, if he can do it, why can't I? And then other people do it anyway, and then there you go. Now you've got a bunch of people that are thinking it's probably fine to just cheat, right? Because even if this guy didn't do shit, the fact that he had it open while playing, that's a problem. Like, that's a real problem, because he might have the ethics to have just forgotten he was doing whatever the fuck with the RTA bullshit. I mean, I hate the products as well, to be honest. I hate the entire thing to do with all this RTA shit, pretending that they're study tools, but they like specifically design them to make them RTA friendly. Absolutely hate these products. But yeah, long story short, he posted a screenshot, whatever. He probably didn't do anything wrong. He probably just took a bad beat, and like, you know, he doesn't understand that this is just totally unacceptable to have this open while you're playing. He doesn't get it. I mean, obviously he doesn't understand it because he even posts it. I mean, as an aside, this is pretty lazy post work, right? You know, the tables aren't tiled well. He's got RTA in the background. The picture quality is trash. You know, so on a separate note, you should probably clean that up a little bit. But yeah, I'm curious if anyone noticed ExpressVPN next to GG Poker icon. This guy's a fucking detective. Where is that? I don't have the eyesight capabilities to see whatever he's suggesting. ExpressVPN. I mean, I also don't know how Macs work. Is that up here somewhere? Anyway. So, yeah, so this, now you're teed up for this response. So this response has multiple problems. Nacho Bavero is a goofball. We love him. Anyone who's played with him and knows him, he's not a GTO star player and likely never will be. We're confident he was not using to gain any advantage. That's probably true, but censorship, okay? Not letting anyone reply, that's not really good. You know, you can't really do that. That's just bad. It sends a very bad message. They're basically saying that, okay, this guy's exempt to the rules, and we don't want you to question it. Well, the problem is, like, I can probably click on this now and expect to see comments about the Nacho thing. Biggest cheating site, Nacho cheated. I haven't done that. It's just, yeah, look, tone deaf and idiotic. So all they're doing is, when they don't let people respond to the actual place they want to respond, is they're just going to get everything else in the timeline shit up with the same stuff. So anyway, it's whatever. I think he just made a mistake, but they really need to be hard on that particular mistake because it sends an image that cheating is acceptable on their site, you know? And that's what they need to realize and take seriously. At least that's my opinion on the whole thing. I don't think Nacho was cheating. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked if he was looking at pre-flop chart. Like, that wouldn't absolutely shock me. I'd say, fucking standard piece of shit, whatever. But if I had to guess, I would say that he didn't do it. It's probably just micro stakes. Like, the reason he was posting this thing in the first place is because he has some sort of arrangement with them where they need him to post, hey, look, I'm playing the fucking Venom or whatever. He probably doesn't give a single fuck about actually playing the Venom. He just does it because it's part of his contract. And he makes this low effort post, to fulfill his contract obligations. That would be my read on it. So I don't think he's sitting around taking the tournament super seriously. He's probably sitting on the toilet with a fucking laptop, watching football and clicking occasionally when he has random suited cards and whatnot. But yes, from the ACR perspective, they certainly need to, deal with it better than just making a post like, lol, he's a fish, don't worry. Yeah, the statement reads very poorly, I agree. From a random customer's perspective, it's certainly a bit of a fuck you, right? The thing is, they don't want to just punish him for an innocent mistake, which I can understand. I can understand that. But it doesn't matter. Like, you have to do it. You don't have a choice. It needs to be fully unacceptable. The trade-off of keeping Nacho Barbero as an ambassador, is that really worth destroying your site's reputation? It's absolutely not worth it. It's very obvious. They should be hiring better people at their website if they want it to not just crumble to the ground. But I don't think they will. I think that, yeah, I think they're done. Not based on this, but just based on future trajectory. I don't think they're going to make it in the industry. So Proddy was losing on this table throughout the entire session, finds a cooler, stacks the flush master. Let's rewatch that. So he's up a decent amount of money overall now. Flushie 3-bets and Proddy call. Proddy call with king 10 of clubs. Strong hand. Flushie min c-bet. Proddy going to trap with his flush, bet half pot on the turn, and then on the river ace, he's going to cook everything. And Flushie says, I cannot fold, mate. I got the top deuce. But he sees the bad news. Dude in the chat says ACR would also be guilty by association. Admitting guilt or negligence isn't easy for companies without serious consequences. Yeah, true. True. They have to play some sort of a innocence card or whatever. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. Like, can't they just say, "Hey, look, this is totally unacceptable," even though like he probably didn't do this with malintent? We're going to investigate that. We're going to work together with GTO Wizard to investigate that. We're going to see, what the spots were that he was looking up, and he's going to be removed as an ambassador effective immediately, and his account is going to be banned. Like, if they did that, I would say, okay, it's a good response. They're not saying people are above the rules. They're going to hold somebody accountable, even though it was likely that what he did wasn't even bad. Or I don't know. I don't know if I would say likely. It's just my personal opinion. Even though it's highly possible that he didn't do anything bad, we're still going to take this hardline stance. That sends a good message, to customers. So, I think it's, look, he made a mistake. Okay, unlucky Nacho, the deal's over. It's not a huge deal. Like, it's not a beef. Like, we don't hate you, Nacho. Say you're ACR upper management. You don't have to say like, oh, look, we hate you. It's just unlucky, You made a mistake and we have to deal with that mistake. And the way that we deal with it is this. I hope you can understand. Totally reasonable. Totally fucking reasonable. What they did do was not particularly smart. But anyway, enough of that topic. We have what looks like a 4-bet pot over on the left table. Flushie trying to finally win some pot back. Maybe he'll flop a flush this time. He's going to go for a deep tank flat call of a very small c-bet. 15%-ish, 16%-ish c-bet. Probably on the turn. SPR still like 1.5-ish. What will he barrel here? If he barrels. Pretty likely to barrel after such a small c-bet. He's going to cook up all the way to half pot sizing. Flushie deep in the tank. Does mark. Prodi shows the bullets with a heart. Pretty good hand. Flushie with a good fold. Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Yeah, it's an interesting topic, though. How long is the match gone? Or is it going to go on for? They're going to play today for another half an hour. That's apparently the schedule. From the start of this stream, which you can watch back in a VOD if you want, they've played. So I started streaming just before the first hands were dealt, luckily. And yeah, I'm not sure how long they plan on playing in terms of in total in the future or whatever. But I would imagine, if I had to guess, they're going to play a bit this next 7 to 10 days, if I had to guess. I think these kind of guys, like a lot of heads-up matches in the past were sort of beefs, like fuck you, I want to take all your money, you're shit, this kind of thing. But matches these days tend to just be like on more friendly terms. So, a guy just wants to play a bit. He likes the game. He likes the stakes. All these dudes are pretty rich. They want to do a bit of gambling. Maybe you win, maybe you lose, maybe you're better, maybe you're not. Play some hands of poker. It's more friendly than like, fuck you. We play 100K hands with massive side bet, I want to take your entire bankroll. The old school kind of mindset. So, they'll probably just play a bit. And if they want to stop, they'll stop. And if they don't, they won't. No rules. So what's the score in this match, approximately, at the moment? Prodi was stuck all the money on the right, so he's still stuck half a stack over there. So, like, I think he's only up about 2 buy-ins at the moment. Swans are not too severe. I gotta ask probably when he comes on, how many hands of heads up has he played? And who has he played against more than anyone else? Does heads up sit and go have different strategy from heads up cash at the same stack depth? No. I mean, the only difference is that the heads up sit and go hands are played with no rake because you paid your rake in advance. I mean, obviously the blinds change, and there could be a sub strategy where you could say, "Oh, I'm worse than my opponent, so the best strategy for me is to intentionally take longer while playing every single hand so that the blinds increase and his edge decreases because I understand short stack preflop play and there's less total nodes." But in terms of actual, say they're both 100 BB deep in a heads up sit and go, the only difference is that there's no rake, which differs from cash generally, but not this particular one. So then, no, there's absolutely no difference. Ooh, damn boy. Damn boy. Little 6x Ripsky. So will we see Flushie take down the pot, or will we see Prodi make some sort of hero call with a pair and a straight blocker here? A lot of that's going to depend on what he thinks Flushie's doing with all value hands, how he's going to interpret this sizing specifically. Oh, it was the business hand for 6x the pot. Pretty happy with the muck. But yeah, these spots are quite interesting. Because if you think a guy is full polar to the straight, then any pair plus straight blocker is a candidate to call. Obviously, you don't need to call very often, getting ripped on for 6 times the pot. But, you know, you're going to look to hands that block this. But if he could also have like pocket sixes and even like ace king and threes randomly and shit, it could change things a bit. I like the sweat on the show table, though. You know, the guy rips it in for massive. And you're either hoping to see cool bluff or, you know. Even seeing the nuts there, it's kind of funny because Proddy knows, like, he was, you know, a couple of clicks away from being in the toilet. Just increases the fun of the sweat to know that you're going to see what they had. Just be right back in a sec. Okay. Stacks look about the same. Don't think we missed anything too big. Okay. What do you guys think about anti versus non-anti poker in general? I was discussing this with a reg just randomly in DM the other day. And he was of pretty much the same opinion that I'm of, which is that anti is just better. It is just straight up better. It encourages more complex game tree, so harder to solve, harder to cheat in. It's better for fish because fish play looser in general, and anti forces looser play. You know, it's just nice. It's nice, like you have to flat out of all these different positions. You might even have to limp depending on the game format. You can't just like fold all your garbage and be some boring nit, you know, looking at charts. So, I mean, like obviously looking at charts would also help heaps in ante, you know, but because it creates all these other post-flop spots, cheating is nerfed, even in no limit hold'em. But it's less about that. It's more about just like, as for the game format, I think it's just more enjoyable. You sit down to play poker, right? You don't sit down to play fucking 20 VPIP, fold every hand at 6 max. So yeah, I think ante is just, it's great. Even stuff like large ante. So like say you're playing 6 max and the whole table is like one small blind of ante. You know? 3 BB of total antes. And you just have to play like a spastic lag, limping whale, you know? It's a good format. Like what are you gonna do in the cutoff with 10-8 offsuit if it's one small blind ante per player in a 6 max game? You gonna fold? You gonna limp? I would raise and limp. Just add a completely random guess. I don't think I would fold that hand. So yeah, ante I think it's cool. Sharky mentions unless it's high rake. Yeah, well sure, yeah, but that's always bad regardless. I mean, it depends. I really like the structure of rakeware, and that's what's being trialed on Coin Poker right now. That all these dudes from the Cash Game World Championship have been helping to construct a better playing environment, basically, and encourage some actual battling and table starting. Because one of the things that sucks the most from a VIP perspective, at least in my opinion, is like they sit down at a table, it just snap fills in their face, right? Like a bunch of people getting in position on them. If they're joining a table and every time they join it's like 3 or 4 handed already, that feels way better, right? Just optics are nice on that. For them personally, it's probably more enjoyable. But how to encourage people to reg battle, you know? And yeah, that's what we're trying to structure at Coin. Unfortunately, the software isn't ready for anything to be automated that we really want. But the regs are helping me test in like a customized environment how to have reg structure that can be better. So it's interesting doing these kind of things, and it's cool that Coin's management is open to it. I always had some ideas about how the lobbies could be better, you know, for table starting. Like I think a new joiner, it should be forced random seat, so that there's no positional advantage for the people that are table starting. Or it should reshuffle seats every time somebody joins, you know? There's lots of good options how to make things fair. Yeah, I have lots of cool ideas. I won't just dump them all here because I'd like to execute them instead of potentially even having them stolen. Mate, Flushie on the bad end of the coolers a little bit in this session. Couple of less than 2 pair hands, that being the second one of them. Let's see exactly how this one went down. Single raise pot, quarter pot c-bet, and Flushie turns middle 2 pair, or bottom 2 pair. Overbet turn gets called, and river 5. Body does not slow down, puts on 75% of the pot. Flushie says that he cannot muck, and loses to aces and deuces. Imagine you grinding for money for life and need to reg battle. I guess no one does. Well, those kind of players, though, they tend to play lower stakes. I think this battle incentive stuff starts when the stakes get a bit higher, like at least mid stakes. The lower stakes guys, they tend to have tons of options for how to play and where to play anyway. It's not really a liquidity issue at lower stakes. But I think when the stakes get a bit higher and the player pools get a bit smaller, it's good to encourage an environment where VIPs can join a running table. And it's good to offer the regs who are willing to start those environments a reward for doing so. So yeah, in terms of future automation, there's definitely some good options. In terms of what we're currently working with in technological restrictions, not so easy. Prodigy often going for a lot of thinner value bets and smaller sizings and stuff is going to shy away from potentially value betting this hand. Let's see why. He quarters flop. He does not barrel a double gut shot here on this board, even though he will seldom get check raised. So quite an interesting check back here. Jack 10, no diamond. River is a jack. Flushie checks and Proddy says, you know what, that's fine. I think it's too thin here. I don't want to get check raised off my hand. I don't want to bet whatever sizing he would choose here, 50% or 66% or 75%, I guess. And he is going to win the showdown against 10-8. This is quite an interesting choice. I guess, I mean, this just has to be a thing. You can tell based on the fact that he's good and he does it. That barreling full frequency of Jack 10 on the turn just won't be a thing. Maybe full frequency with the diamond, but without the diamond, potentially not. And then on the river, interesting decision. He could bet, maybe. He also might be fearing the check raise a bit. I don't know enough about Flushie's game to know what kind of moves he's making in those type of spots. Probably pulling away with the cash, so almost taking Flushie back to a starting stack on the right, table 2. Check raising the 9-5-4 2 hearts board. 3/4 c-bet gets check raised 2k from 750. Flushie does not fold, so spicy one. 3 of clubs rolls for 2-tone board. Completes a bunch of straights that both players can have. Interesting overall spot. SPR 3.5. Should be seeing some turn potting or around the size of the pot when Proddy bets, I guess. It does pot it. What will the flush master do? Does find the call. River is a 6. So a bunch of gutters get home. Will this be a spot Proddy can even find some block bets? Like with other value hands like 2-pair or a set? Or will he just be jamming and be a bit more polar and expecting Flushie to bluff? So he might bluff catch with like a 2-pair or a set type of hand instead of just open shoving it for value. Tricky spot from my perspective. No idea what he's going to do. I won't be shocked to see him block bet here, though. He is this player that has all these tricky moves in his arsenal, and he does do it. What is this sizing? It looks like it's quarter of the pot, right? Yeah, quarter of the pot on the river. Flushie with a lot of single pair hands, you know, like any pair and flush draw on the turn, some over pairs and stuff on the turn. A lot of single pairs here, going to be feeling very tilted and clueless. Can he muck? Does he call and see a 5-4, etc.? What will he do in this spot? And will Proddy bluff this way if he rivers a dry 6? Say Proddy had like Jack 6 and just started cooking. Jack 6 with a heart, you know? Will he bluff river for this sizing, or would he just rip it in? These might be some of the questions Flush is asking himself now. He will call, and he will see, ooh, rivered 2-pair. With top pair on flop, full pot turn value. Gets paid off by the nut flush draw with a gut shot. And Proddy will get additional value from this hand on the river for quarter pot. So quite a spicer. Interesting call. Probably just playing it super standard, I guess. I mean, his hand is kind of good enough to shove because it's top 2. Maybe? I don't know. Interesting spot. I think I need to buy a new chair. Not sure if you can hear it creaking in the background, but these $60 or $80 whatever Amazon piece of shit chairs have a limited lifespan. Um, maybe I'm not sure if I'm gonna have time, but we can try, I guess. Mm, probably like another 20 minutes or so. So you're probably sitting on some comfortable profits now. Down 12K here, up 65K here, so up 50 on it. It's really only 2.5 buy-ins, right? Because he bought in for all the money on this table, I believe. So yeah, according to the boys, the game should wrap up in 5 minutes or so, and then we might get Proddy to join, answer a couple of questions from the chat. I've also texted Flushie. Some people had a couple questions for him, like who he was playing in PLO and what was the other one? Let's have a read. Oh yeah, how long he's planning on playing Owen? Like, do they have any time frame in mind, basically? Where is Stefan? Yeah, he never replied to my follow-up message. I asked him some other stuff after. I mean, he replied to a bit of it, but I did attempt to get him to come back and discuss some whatever the fuck stuff, and he didn't get in on that. This is an interesting looking spot here. So Proddy with massive river check raise after it goes, what, c-bet on flop? No, it's checked all the way down. Proddy finds the monster river raise against the full pot stab. He's thinking that Flushie might not have pocket sevens too much for the whole line overall, and therefore just has no fear. Putting a lot of pressure on one pair for the flush man. This might be one of the last hands of the session based on Flushie timing down as well. He will pay it off. He sees garbage and he calls with a dry seven. So Flushie, to close the match out, does find a pretty nice little play there. Refuses to bend the knee. Looks his opponent up with a rivered seven after betting it for full pot. Double check back, full pot river bet. Interestingly enough, his kicker is a king, which is apparently the kind of hand that Prodigy wants to turn into a bluff here. King high that has some showdown value, but not too much. So hard to say exactly what Prodigy wants to bet on the river. Like sorry, check raise as a bluff. Like this looks like a little bit over the top. Maybe ace six and king six and stuff would be a little bit better. Bluffing with a 7 or a 5 feels completely unnecessary. This feels like a spot where you're better off trying to block a hand like 6-7, because then your opponent will have 6-7 less himself, which will let him probably bet call, blocking some full houses and straights. So I'm not sure. This is a curious one. Maybe we'll ask Flushie about this one after the match. I'll keep it on the side. Sorry, we'll ask Prodigy about that one. Flushie did say that he would come and do a little video with us, though. That could be cool. Oh shit, I'm just blind. Apparently something sick went down over here. To be fair, I was laughing at something on Twitter, so I had an excuse. That is a monster pot. Let's observe it. So it's going 4-bet pre from Proddy. C-bet from Proddy. Check min raise from Flushie. Proddy all in. All in, buddy boy. King, queen, double suited for the flush man. And ace, king of value spades for Proddy. Interesting whether to jam or call as Proddy facing this check raise on flop. Very interesting spot. Little flop bad beat, and Flushie at the end of the match turns the whole thing around, basically winning a 70k pot there. And picking off a bluff with a lowly pair of sevens. It was a very large river check raise on the show table. Yeah, it's an interesting hand. We can definitely ask him about the ace king. I mean, obviously you can't fold, to the check raise. It's the question of shoving or not shoving. And I was imagining we would have seen ace king off with a club, but pretty similar hand, probably even better hand, ace king with two spades. So unblocking all the flush draws from Flushie that he's ahead of because the board's paired, but still having the backdoor flush equity in case he runs into top pair or a strong hand. Oh, they lied. They're not quitting, huh? Well, unfortunately, I will have to go somewhat soon. So if the session actually doesn't end soonish, there'll be no interview from Proddy today. Understandably, he probably wants to keep playing. Which, yeah, not much I can do about that really. But I do have to go when I have to go, so hopefully it works out, but it might not. I hear a little bit of crying baby. I might go and investigate that. Rooting for the bust so we can do the interview. All right. Interesting, Rizzy. Check back and raise 2 flush blockers and a 2-pair blocker with some equity. Check, check, flop. Check turn with a 7. Faces bet. Decides raise. Spicy. Blocking all of the check back delays that aren't full traps. That are strong value hands on the turn. Interesting decision. Would have been curious whether he barrels this on the river or gives it up. Because he blocks more draws with this exact hand. That also means he has less showdown value. So, interesting spot. He probably would have just bluffed that particular river. Yeah, I don't know. King Queen offsuit before we saw Flushie 3-bet that and call a 4-bet. I don't recall what's with that. I think that's standard though, right? Calling a 4-bet with King Queen offsuit, or does King Queen offsuit fold pre to a 4-bet? They were deepish as well, right? At least like 150 or something, huh? Oh, did I get the YouTube title right, or did I make a mistake? Because on my software it says I got it wrong. Oh no, it's okay. Okay. I'll just find out what time I have to leave. Maybe I'll let Proddy know. Okay. Well, it's not great news. I think we've got about 15 minutes or something. What?
All the way on the floor.
I'll try and find out how much longer they play for. Because if they play for a bit longer, I could just chuck on like some fucking okay music or whatever. And leave the stream running. Because some people find that more convenient than logging in and railing themselves. I'll just try and find this shit out. I'm leaving soonish, says Flushie. 5 minutes, no problem. Whose buttons? Let's just do one each. Do you want to go now? Can keep playing. And Marco's saying the deeper you get with King Queen offsuit after 3-betting, the more it's a fold to a 4-bet because of, reverse and plat odds, I guess, post flop when you flop top pair against Ace King and Ace Queen, and aces, obviously. But they were like 150 and there's no rake, so it could easily be a snap call. Also sizing dependent, right? I can't recall if the sizing was interesting or not, or I don't know what sizing your sim has and that kind of stuff. They're probably about the same though. Are they done or not? That is the question. Flush says, I'm leaving soonish, 5 minutes. He then says, you want to go now, finish now. A little bit of confusion in the ranks. I would appreciate the finish. That would work perfectly from my perspective. Looking like in the end around a break-even session. Probably winning all the money from Flushie on this table and losing all the money to Flushie on this table. I think Prodi did the reloading here and Flushie did the reloading here. So even Steven looks like. Okay. This pot will probably determine who ends up winning this session. If they are actually going to finish in a second. Flushie says that he likes the river. Prodigy does not snap. The Prodigy not an enjoyer of this river card. Does call and is correct to do so. He calls with the third pair, so hero mode works out. His kicker there being somewhat irrelevant to the board, blocking only a little bit of 8-9 and 8-10, which may not matter at all. And perhaps that kicker was the reason that he ends up calling, because if he had a 9 or a 10 with his jack, he might have wanted to fold those. So he 3-bets, gets called, he c-bets, gets called. He checks the turn, Flushie blast, he doesn't fold, and then the river ace. Prodigy actually snap checks this river ace, which retrospectively was a lot more meaningful than I initially thought. Because this is a river he can clearly donk on. Maybe I don't know, maybe you don't want to donk. It's kind of weird, but either way, it's worth a thought, right? And he checked pretty fast. Faces the shove, decides without too much time bank used to call, and he's going to show up with bottom pair, basically. Good enough. Nice hand, well played. The chat did not finish though. So Flushie's still interested in battling. Unfortunately for the stream, that could be an issue. I don't think I can leave the stream running because I have to leave the house for too long. So that's just not going to work out. And I actually have some other stuff I forgot I had to do before I leave. So yeah, this is a bit of a pain, unfortunately. Would be great to chat to the prod for you guys, answer a couple of questions and shit, but might not work out. I'm sure he'll come on and do a little video where we go into a hand or two and maybe we can get some of those questions answered at that time. So I'll ask him if that's all right. No Chatterments. Yeah, this is quite unfortunate. I don't want to just leave you guys high and dry here in the middle of something exciting, but I think I gotta just go. Unfortunate, man. Oh, guys, sorry, but this will be the last couple hands then. At least we have something spicy over here. Massive check raise from Flushie. Sorry, raise after check back, potentially. Or it'd probably go check call, donk here. We will not see the result, sadly. It's not a show table, but we will double check what exactly that line was. Quite an interesting one. Flushie PFR, half pot c-bet, 3/4 pot barrel, and then after Prodi goes check call, he's going to find a river lead small. Very hard for him to have any hand in his range that's actually a bluff. He would have to have ace 10 with no club and have called a turn 3/4 pot bet. Right? Or king 10. So quite strange. He's going to bet and then face a large raise and fold. So he probably just had a club and let it go. Whether he was bluffed or not, we'll never know. Well, maybe Flushie could tell us, but I probably won't remember to ask him about that hand. So yeah, I think that's it, man. I'm gonna have to gap it. This is the plan though, okay? We're gonna try and get either one or both of the boys for a little session review. I'll pull up a few hands. We'll have them made into the nice custom replayer, and get them to have a bit of a chat about that. And maybe talk about, you know, are they planning on playing for a while? Who was Flushie playing 3 tables of heads up PLO against at the start of this match? And did he play them the entire time he was playing the match? Because that's pretty sick if he did. But yeah, catch you guys.